Hello to everyone, my name is Mia. I'm a young social pedagogue who found out about NPSs a few years ago, and since then it became a great interest of mine. Through the years, I had a chance to learn about NPSs both theoretically and practically. While I was writing my final thesis for college about NPSs, I learned from various types of researches available online, and then when I started working with youth in practice who are using NPSs, it somehow all fell into place. Currently, I have been working on diagnostic and treatment of children with different types of behavioral problems, including addiction. I work directly with children age 9 to 18. I know it may sound rare when I say children age 9 and addiction in one sentence, but till the end of this presentation, I will try to explain why I think that maybe NPSs are the ones we can blame for this kind of connection. One of the main goals while working with those kids is to somehow prevent this kind of consumption at a very early age to evolve and become an addiction in the future. First of all, I will tell you something about consumption of NPSs in Croatia, about some key users, everything I found reliable and worth telling through my research, and then afterwards I will speak about my experience in practice. A few years ago, I worked at different kind of music festivals in Europe. There I had a chance to meet different kind of people who use different kind of stuff. And as a professional, but also because of some personal curiosity, I was interested in their experience with substances. At one point, everyone started speaking about some cheap stuff you can buy in shops or over the internet, some stuff that really hits you like illegal ones, but are actually legal. And the best thing is that it cannot be proven by the police or on any drug test. For a professional who works with people who have substance use disorders, it was scary to hear all of that, but at the same time really exciting to find out what are they talking about. So I started searching, and long story short, I ended up writing my final thesis on college about NPSs. When I started writing about NPSs, my main focus was to explore the consumption through already done researches available online and their results. There are reported cases of use of NPSs in Croatia, but there is a lack of research in general. I realized there was very little material to start with, so I started thinking about what I have seen and known so far, and I started collecting stories from people and how different kinds of NPSs affected them. And after hearing all of that, I decided to write about people, not only about consumption. The title of my paper in the end was Characteristics of New Psychoactive Substance Users. It deals with leading issues related to the topic of new psychoactive substances, from the problems such as the changing and rapidly growing drug market to diverse legal responses and consequences of using. By reviewing and exploring the literature, relevant domestic and foreign researches on NPSs are presented and described, and the results served as guidelines for recognizing the key users of NPSs and subpopulation that the DSM individual belong to. The aim of the paper was to create preconditions for effective prevention and treatment, and what is more crucial, to point out the characteristics of the population that these substances is consuming. In 4 words, I tried to create a profile of a person who uses more than others or is in greater risk of using NPSs than others. I decided I will call them users because it's quite hard to define it as addiction. How we can even speak about addiction if there is no proof even of a consumption sometimes? A little something to think about how we approach to the main part. For the purposes of this presentation, I will give you a brief summary related to consumption of NPSs in Croatia and who are the key users in our country. Summarizing the data from the researches available online, synthetic cannabinoids are for sure the ones users consume the most. In the first place, Galaxy, but there are also some reported cases in Croatia related to methadone, spice and ketamine. They use NPSs mostly when going out in bars, clubs and during nights with friends, rarely alone. They buy through some friends, sometimes over the internet, but rarely in smart shops. This is an interesting fact because reports from other European countries point out that the buying part is mostly done over the internet or in smart shops and rarely through friends. There are reported cases of use of NPSs and different kinds of risky behavior, such as driving under the influence or having unprotected sex, sometimes even sharing needles. Using NPSs while smoking marijuana or consuming alcohol is highly reported in the researches done in Croatia. All the researches done in Croatia confirm that men do consume more than women. It's mostly young people aged 18 to 30. It's very important to mention that almost all the researches are done on this population, so the real question is, are they really the ones using the most, or are those results affected by the great focus researchers have on this population? There is a lack of researchers who include the criteria of education. In only few researches, this criteria is included, and those young people have high education. In terms of motivation, there are a few factors that appeared in most of the researches. First of all, availability, the possibility to buy it in different places, from smart shops, over the internet, through friends, even people on the streets. Then, the portrayed legality. When I say portrayed, I refer to the possibility to buy it legally, even though the name bath salt doesn't fully explain the ingredients on the label. The price, of course, as one of the main factors for using those legal instead of illegal ones, way more cheaper. There has also been reporting about better effects than effects of illegal drugs. In relation to the population of young people, curiosity, vulnerability, and the idea of getting out with it because no one can prove it are also mentioned as great motivational factors. In terms of knowledge about NPSs, people are familiar with the names but do not know much about effects or ingredients. The results of researches done in Europe related to those done in Croatia do not differ a lot. Regarding gender, age, motivation, the results are quite similar. All of the researchers point out young people using NPSs on parties, mostly synthetic cannabinoids and catechins, doing it because of the cheap price and easy access. The main difference is found in the way of buying it. In Europe and the USA, the merchandise is mostly sold through the internet or in smart shops, in Croatia through friends. MCDDA pointed out subpopulations and its users who are in greater risk of using NPSs than others. For the purposes of this presentation, I found this quite interesting and something that for sure can help us all to prevent the problem of NPSs. It appears that there is a small percentage of key users in the population that is exposed to a bigger risk of using than others. As NPSs are frequently used on parties, it doesn't surprise that the first group are the nightlifers, people who go clubbing, to festivals and parties often. The second group are members of the LGBT community, as most of the researches done on that group reported high usage of NPSs, mostly during sham sex, which is known as sex under the influence of a drug. The third group are people who inject drugs. Most of the researches done on those people reported high consumption of NPSs as well. The biggest problem with this group is sharing needles and high prevalence of HIV and hepatitis infections. The final two groups are the prison population and other marginalized groups such as homeless people. More and more self-reported consumption of NPSs can be found in the prison population as a cheap and it cannot be proven solution of using. On the other hand, homeless people are using NPSs as a replacement for the illegal expensive stuff. So, it really can be concluded that there really are some people, members of specific groups, who use more frequently NPSs than the general population. The main question we need to ask ourselves is this: are the characteristics of those people the ones who are driving them to use, or is it because they are part of some kind of population that is in greater risk of using than others? It's something for all of us to think about. Now, I would like to share some practical experience I gained working with young people using NPSs. But first of all, I would like to tell you something about a synthetic cannabinoid often used in my hometown, frequently known in all Croatia. There is quite an interesting story about the city where I worked and NPSs. Young people here are mostly using a synthetic cannabinoid that is famously called riječki shit. The first word represents the place where it came from, Rijeka, and the second one, shit, it's an abbreviation for hashish. People who produced it for sure at one point started thinking of the best way to put it on the market and sell it fast. So they came up with this great name which reminds people of hashish, but actually it's not hashish. What they really did is completely camouflage what the product really is. Not hashish, but something even less good than basic marijuana. It's mostly a mixture of a small percentage of synthetic THC and much bigger percentage of rat poison, antidepressants, ketamine, and the fuel for engines known as kerosene. At the beginning of this presentation, I made a statement that NPSs are somehow the connection between young people and addiction. When I started working, I noticed that for most of those kids, their path of addiction started with various types of NPSs, mostly Galaxy and Spice, at a very young age. As they say it all starts with cheap, legal stuff, but soon enough they start using the legal ones also, like marijuana or ecstasy. It's interesting that although they start using other ones, they also continue to use NPSs as well. The main reason why they sometimes choose NPSs over marijuana is the price. It's way cheaper than illegal ones. The second reason is that the consumption cannot be seen on any drug test. The last, but not the least, is the fact that they can really buy it legally in smart shops or over the internet. They mostly consume NPSs in small groups with friends or when going to parties. The motivation varies from relaxing and chilling to trying it from curiosity or because others do it. The effects vary also. Sometimes it's just blurry eyes, dull look and slow movements. Sometimes it's nausea or vomiting, and sometimes even they become aggressive, impatient with no concentration at all. The biggest problem is they never know how this joint will hit them and what to expect from it because they don't know what kind of percentage of what is inside this joint they are consuming. For them, this is all kind of exciting, but for us people working with them, kind of scary. So, what do we do now? There are a lot of challenges due to NPSs and this unexplored, rapidly changing problem. Exactly because of those challenges, we need to react together by collaborating. In order for any collaboration to start, first of all, we need scientifically based researches focused not only on consumption but also users of this consumption. There are a few things we can all do starting tomorrow. First of all, raise awareness of the public, speaking about NPSs, educating people about the misleadings on the labels and giving people rightful information. Sharing the knowledge by educating treatment providers and professionals working in schools where it all starts. So, prevention can do what it's supposed to do. There will be no need for treatment. Collecting money, investing in researches, and using the results from those same researches to create prevention and treatment programs. Therefore, for the main conclusion, based on my research paper, based on my experience in practice, I really do think that we need more of this. And when I say this, I mean to connecting people involved with NPSs and sharing knowledge. On the other hand, educating the ones not involved with NPSs yet, making researches and somehow trying to resolve this growing problem. I know it's much easier to say than to do it, but we all need to start from somewhere, and I'm very pleased and I'm very flattered I could be a part of this great somewhere. Thank you for your attention. I will leave my email with the organization, so if you have any questions or just want to chat about NPSs, feel free to contact me. Thank you again.